President Biden has made his decision. He is the Democratic nominee. I said before, I don't know how many times we can answer this question. I don't know how many times President Biden can answer this question. He will be the Democratic nominee, and we will beat Donald Trump in November. The president.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old conservative, host of Speechless, the radio show, and right here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, all that fun stuff, powered by Breakaway USA. Make sure you guys, wherever you are, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. Make sure you subscribe to not only me, Speechless with Kev, but also Breakaway USA, and check out Freedom 2.0, one of our greatest sponsors. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But man, what the heck? I go away for one weekend. Usually I have my show on Sundays. You guys might have been looking for it. And I go away for one weekend. I go away just for one weekend. And all of a sudden, some of the biggest news in the country comes out. Some of the biggest news in the country of this century comes out. You guys couldn't wait one more day? One more day. So no, I did not have an emergency live stream last night to talk about this, but here we are today with even more news updates on the question everyone is asking, where is Joe Biden? It's like that scene in The Dark Knight when Harvey Dent comes out and he goes, "Where is Harvey Dent?" You seen him? Where is he? Where is he? Where is Joe Biden? MIA, missing in action. We're going to try to get to the bottom of it right here today on Speechless. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Please be in the comments section. I will bring it up on screen. If you have questions, we will talk about it. I will try my best to answer it. Ask me them in the question. Is Joe alive? What a great question. Is Joe alive? We don't know. We don't know. Demon Girl is excited to hear this, and we have so much to talk about. I'm just going to bring up some fun B-roll on screen while we kind of lay out some of the things that have been going on in our country recently. But I want to start off this entire show because we're going to talk about where Joe Biden is. We're going to talk about his stepping down. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris being the nominee. We're going to even bring on a history expert that you might know to talk about how unprecedented all of this is. But I want to take a moment and discuss just the last month. We're going to get into the history of this country, the history of stepping down, everything like that. But I want to just talk about the last month. Let's lay out a timeline here for everybody. And if I forget something, like I said, let me know in the comments because I will bring it up on screen. I will correct myself. I will apologize. But I want to start off right here with simply a timeline of the last month, about, give or take. We'll start off with the unprecedentedly early presidential debate. We're going to start off with just talking about that. In the last month, we started off with an unprecedentedly early presidential debate, in which Joe Biden flubbed. The worst flub, as Trump would say. It might have been the worst flub in the history of debates. The worst debate. Terrible. Career-ending presidential debate, literally, for Joe Biden. To which then all eyes shifted to Joe. The media shifts aim at Biden. The media that at one point told us, this is the best Biden we've ever seen. Sharp as a tack. Never been better. Starts actually questioning. Many in America finally realizing the mental decline our president has been on that half the country has known for 4+ years. But a few, including the Associated Press and other MSM, lamestream media shills, trying to continue the lie that everything is fine. Calls for Biden to step down out of the race grew and grew and grew, even from within his own party. Democrats saying it's time for him to go. Biden insisted that he was going to stay in the race. In fact, even with George Stephanopoulos, he claimed, even if God himself, the Lord Almighty, were to come down and say, get out of the race, that would be the only point as to which he'd leave. Tension continued to grow and grow until the first presidential assassination attempt of this century occurred, hopefully the last, against former President Trump. Then it seemed like we shifted away from Biden and talking about his health, the concerns, the call for him to step down on everything, onto Trump, rhetoric, how this assassination attempt occurred, the FBI, they're beginning their investigation, the Secret Service, as to where it went wrong. Immediately following this assassination attempt, we had the RNC, the Republican National Convention. We had Trump's VP pick, which was meteoric, J.D. Vance, everybody wanting to talk about that. A multitude of smaller headlines coming out of that. Amber Rose's speech causing some controversy. Nikki Haley's, a gunman caught outside of the convention. Many people barely even talked about that. That's huge news. Almost nobody talked about it. And then, even during the RNC, something that was second page news, which shouldn't have been, was that Trump's court case in Florida, his documents case, the classified documents case, was dismissed by a judge. This was a footnote in the news. Let me remind you, I'm old enough to remember that just a little over a year ago, that he said, or that we had in the media, we had news headlines, we had in-depth analysis, the mainstream media covering the classified documents case, many saying that this was the one that held the most weight against President Trump, saying that, oh my gosh, Trump is a terrible person. Look how terrible Trump is. He had these classified for almost 2 years. The FBI raided the man's home. Some even claiming, allegedly, that maybe the FBI and others planted documents there. I don't know for sure. I'm not verifying that. It's alleged, it was rumors, but still, to show the weight, there was so much conversation about Trump's, and I see there's an ad playing, but don't worry, I'll get these flubs back in here. But so many coming out and saying that Donald Trump is terrible for having these classified documents. And all of a sudden, the case is dropped. The case is dropped. Oh my gosh. And it's second page news. No one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. Then following that, we have the sitting president of the United States, this man that you can see on screen right here, tripping up the stairs multiple times. Then he gives a very classic salute right there. One of the funniest videos. This is the man, sitting president, steps down after insisting that he is going to be a part of all of this, or that he's going to leave, that he's gone. After he insisted, sorry if that made no sense. I was just reading some of the comments that I see in the, let me rephrase. Keep the comments coming. But the man who insisted that he was going to stay in the race, that literally God would have to tell him to leave, that just 4 days ago, we had this clip.
President Biden has made his decision. He is the Democratic nominee. I said before, I don't know how many times we can answer this question. I don't know how many times President Biden can answer this question. He will be the Democratic nominee, and we will beat Donald Trump in November. President Biden has made his decision.
That's the principal deputy campaign manager 4 days ago, saying it's happening. He's the nominee. And now he's out. And for no clear reason stated in the letter, and we're going to get to the letter, we're going to talk about it, but this ignites a new media firestorm, and now he's nowhere to be found. Where is Joe Biden? Where is Joe Biden? Like an Obama presidency, he drops one of the biggest bombs on our metaphorical Iraq, and now he's just gone? He's not going to say anything to anybody. He's not talking about it. Oh, and this is totally not to mention the fact that he was diagnosed with COVID-19 immediately after a BET interview comes out and says, hey, I'm only going to drop out now if I have some kind of medical diagnosis. That's our last month of news, everybody. And in just the span of 8 days, we had a former president's assassination attempt to the current president stepping out of the race. We are living through history right now, everybody. This is another question. We have questions upon questions upon questions. Look, I'll be honest with you. We're going to search for answers during this live stream, but we are going to get more questions than we will answers because that's what we have right now. And so let's go through now. The clear news, as I stated, as I'm sure you all know, President Joe Biden announced on Sunday, yesterday, that he will not seek re-election in November, bowing to pressure from high-ranking Democrats and media figures who fear he will be unable to defeat former President Donald Trump. In a letter addressed to the public, Biden said that while it was his intention to run for a re-election, other things came up. So if we go to Joe Biden's, we'll go to his Twitter account now, or X, because that seems to be where he posts things like this. I'll make it bigger so everybody on screen can also see this, everything that we got here. But you can see he has now already even changed Harris for president, as that's who he has thrown his support behind. But this is the letter as it was presented to Americans. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's bring it. I want to try to bring it as big as I can on screen. I hope that maybe me trying to make it bigger will reflect itself on here. Let's do this. Here we go. Save that. Okay, so that might have made it a little bit bigger, but let's talk about this. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. And so I can refute some of this stuff, but let's get through the kind of crap first. The crap that doesn't really mean anything. Like I said, my fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critical need care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. Of course, that's a lot of crap. We know things like, okay, lowering prescription drug costs for seniors. Trump did the exact same thing. Expanding affordable health care. We know the negative effects that can be. Passed the first gun safety law. Okay, well, there was still a presidential assassination attempt. Look how safe that was. Appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. Cool, but she's not competent. We could talk about all that stuff, but he's, of course, trying to brag about his accomplishments. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we've overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected, which, again, have we really overcome it? Costs are still out the wazoo. It's insane. Whatever. We've protected and preserved our democracy. We've revitalized and strengthened our alliance to the world. And protected and preserved our democracy. That's hilarious because of all the questions that this comes out to, and we'll talk about those. But it has been the greatest honor. This is where we really get to like the heart of the letter here, right? It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all of this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Okay. A few things to notice here. If you did not already notice these from people telling you maybe on X or in the mainstream media. But this was not put on official White House letterhead. This was personal letterhead. You notice because it does not say White House up here. When LBJ decided not to run, I believe he used White House letterhead. Decided not to run in 1968. Josh discussed that later when he comes on to give a historical perspective, as he is a history teacher. Even Nixon, when he announced that he was resigning from office, used White House official letterhead. It's a very interesting decision and one worth questioning as to why Joe Biden did not use his White House official letterhead. Then we go below here. And this is the thing that is of most interest. This signature down here. Now, many have even begun creating, I won't claim that I created one of these, but creating infographics as to say, hey, this looks a little odd. This doesn't seem like this is Joe Biden's signature. So I'll pull up on screen right here the signature that many are comparing this to. So we look right here. Yeah, you guys can see that on screen. Look. So this is the one from the letter signed. These are from the last 5 executive orders. There. Not a single one of them has the underline. That's the most glaring difference. The most glaring difference is that there is no underline. Now, if you even look at the rest of these, you'll notice many of them include periods for the J and the R. Period. All of these have periods between the J and the R. Then you even look at the B. All of these are connected B's. The way that he writes it, you can tell. Can you guys see my mouse on screen? I'm hoping that you can. Yeah, you can. Okay, so when you look at this B up here is disconnected. You could tell that it was 2 different pen strokes. One to create the back line, another one to create the full B. And then these B's are all a single pen stroke. It is not disconnected. You look at the R. His R is a pen stroke up, and then he does the little loop. He does that in 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for this one, he does not. If you even look at the way that the line is, maybe it's due to a weakened sense due to his COVID diagnosis. I don't know. Maybe the line is too far of a stretch. But there is enough in here, enough differences, enough deviations from the standard to question the legitimacy of this signature. Just think about it. Yes, that's what I see. The Raven just commented in here. And I'll get to some more comments and stuff soon here once I kind of finish out this segment. But I think it is worth questioning the legitimacy of this. Look at the stroke of the R. The R is much, much different than what we could expect. Even the way that he ends it. He always usually ends it with junior. And maybe this one does include a junior, but you can see junior here, junior there, junior there, junior there, junior there. This one does not seem to include a clear junior. Maybe it's hidden in there a little bit with kind of maybe an R at the end, but much, much different. Look, you could have some say, you could say this does look personal. Some could claim, they could come and counter, or I want to address that maybe I'm wrong, because my girlfriend tells me I am fairly often. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is simply just the idea that Joe was doing something that this is the way he signs his hand personally, and this is on personal letterhead. It's all personal. It's just the way that he does it. It's a more personal touch, as the executive orders are, of course, legislation, kind of, and so he signs it with much more significance and authority. You could make that claim. You could. But I would counter that with, this is his resignation from the candidacy. This is him relinquishing the delegates, the democratically elected delegates, which is another thing we'll talk about. There's so many facets to this. So if I miss anything, as I said, let me know in the comments. I want to make sure I read some of your guys' comments here. All of this, if you're interested in looking at those further, all of this is on X. All you got to do is just look up Joe Biden signatures, and it'll be like the first thing that comes up. We can see some of these comments here. Biden stepped down, apparently. Absolutely. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego theme? That's funny. Something tells me that this is not the first time Biden has told he has a bad flub. Jesse Jackson Jr. says the Democratic Party is excelling. Do you think he's dead and that's why he, quote, called in instead of making a physical appearance? We'll talk about the call-in just a little bit. You should cover what's going on with the Secret Service director. I'm doing that one tomorrow. I have not had time to watch that yet because I've been doing all the research on Joe Biden, but I will get to the Secret Service director. That'll be tomorrow. Make sure you guys subscribe. I'll do a live stream. Maybe I'll just record a video throughout the day. But there will be content on my channel, Speechless with Phares, tomorrow regarding the Secret Service director and that whole crap. Charlie Kirk is reporting Air Force One took off in Las Vegas day as COVID and flew so fast the plane was shaking. I did hear about this. We're going to cover that rumor from Charlie Kirk. I have not seen anything verified. It's just a rumor, but I mean, reality has been stranger than fiction, especially recently. So this is funny, hippie. It's worth putting up there. This is an interesting question as well. How does the sitting president post a letter on X and not tell in person? I think to one point, it shows the significance of the volume of people that are finding X and utilizing X for news and communication. So cheers to Elon Musk on that one. But it is a serious question, especially with something of this magnitude. It is a campaign announcement and not an announcement of the president. And so this wouldn't, while I've heard some people say, oh, this seems to warrant an Oval Office speech, not so much as I would say no because of the campaign significance. However, I would say yes, an in-person or at least a televised or video. I mean, if that's all you can do is a pre-recorded video because he can't communicate, that's fine. You'll always remember where you were standing when you heard he dropped. Yep. I know where I was. It's glory. Has anyone verified if Camel Toe's parents were United States citizens when Camel Toe was hatched? Maybe. I don't know. Definitely a question to be asked. And Kamala will be, and we'll talk more about Kamala in this stream. She'll be under a microscope more than she ever has been before. But I think we need to start with this letter because I actually think, because of me questioning, as I said earlier, because I have the question of where is Joe Biden, I cannot say with absolute certainty that Joe Biden wrote or even signed this letter, which means that, and even with the call, which we'll talk about the call, I cannot say for certainty. I personally do not necessarily believe that Joe Biden knows he dropped out, is alive, or has any idea about the events of the last 48 hours. I don't know that he does. I don't know what I believe. I have more questions that I'd want answered before I made any concrete claim about any of that. I also want to point out, once again, just knowing that Joe Biden dropped out yesterday, I want to remind everybody of what he said to George Stephanopoulos just 2 weeks ago. Take a look and a listen to this right here.
You can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump. Will you stand down?
Well, it depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I've gone into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I'll get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals, George,
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting.
And that's pretty much all you need to see. He was given multiple times, and this is not the only interview. Time and time again, Joe Biden had been asking, are you staying in the race? Are you staying in the race? Are you staying in the race? Hey, a lot of people are saying you're probably going to step out or you should step out. Are you staying in the race? No. The Lord Almighty would have to come down and that would kick me out. No. And what happens yesterday? He's out. 4 days ago, his campaign literally said he's staying in the race. He's going to be the nominee. Yada, yada, yada. Where are we at today? Well, not in the race. It's so important point that out and to constantly point that out, no matter who the nominee is. Why? Because the entire party was in on this the entire time. The entire party said Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. We are pushing for Joe Biden. Most of them. I mean, yeah, you had individual deviations. You had many growing calls for him to step down, but still, so many said, hey, Joe, you're in it. You're in it. You're in it. And now there's been growing calls and growing praise for Biden. Now that he has stepped down, people that said he should stay in the race, people that he says in that interview, like Pelosi, said that he should stay in the race. We can look at it right here. He will go down in history out of the Daily Wire. Democrats shower Biden in praise after he drops out. Nancy Pelosi being the first one. He's a patriotic American who has always put our country first. His legacy and vision, values and leadership make him one of the most consequential presidents in American history. You have Chuck Schumer. Joe Biden has not only been a great president, a great legislative leader, but he's truly an amazing human being. His decision, of course, was not easy, but he once again put his country, his party, and our future first. Today, Joe shows a true patriot and a great American. All these shills, Gavin Newsom, extraordinary. Gretchen Whitmer is a great public servant. He's a great public servant. Hakeem Jeffries, an official announcement. Bill Clinton coming out, and also Bill and Hillary have come out and endorsed Kamala, it would seem. Other liberals coming out and saying things. One individual, though, that noticeably lacked an endorsement for Kamala in his statement regarding Joe Biden's announcement was Barack Obama. Via his Medium, Joe Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents, as well as a dear friend and a partner to me. Today, we've also been reminded again that he's a patriot of the highest order. Now, Joe and Obama have noticeably had many disagreements in the public eye for quite a long time. Joe Biden, behind the scenes reports from administrations had said that Joe was constantly problematic for the Obama admin, but seemed to boost numbers and added something radically different than who Obama was, and so it seemed to help out. In fact, Joe Biden was the one in the Situation Room that advised against the assassination of Osama bin Laden, and that's been a stain on Obama's and his administration for quite a while. Despite the fact, yes, obviously there's allegedly Osama bin Laden was assassinated, Joe still advised against it. What's noticeable about this note from Obama is he says, we will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges. I believe that Joe Biden's vision of a generous, prosperous, and united America that provides opportunity for everyone will be on full display at the DNC in August. And I expect that every single one of us are prepared to carry that message of hope and progress towards forward into November and beyond. For now, Michelle and I just want to express our love and gratitude to Joe and Jill for leading us so ably and courageously. Okay, so this is seen as a snub towards Joe Biden. I'm sorry, not Joe Biden, towards Kamala Harris. And so because of that, many are saying, oh man, it seems like he's not endorsing Kamala. Could this mean that somebody else is coming in? Michelle, maybe. Now, I know many will make that rumor, but I would say the odds on that are so slim. And we'll talk about why. But I don't want to move on to Kamala quite yet and the vice presidential nominee, because I do want to make sure that we discuss the absolute historical significance of Joe Biden stepping down, and also recognize exactly what this means for the future of this of this country, of this party, as well as everything that we learned from the past. And so I do want to bring on my good friend and history educator, former co-host of Speechless when this was not a YouTube channel, but actually on the radio, I was about to call you.
I was about to call me Joe Biden. Wow.
I was about to call you Joe Biden. To be honest, would probably be, no offense to you, Josh, that'd be the interview I really want right now, because where is Joe Biden?
Where is Joe?
Where is Joe Biden? But let's talk a little bit about this, Josh. I want us to just start off. Give me the historical perspective. How everybody says this is unprecedented. This is unprecedented. This is unprecedented. Of course, I referenced the idea of LBJ earlier. I referenced Richard Nixon from resigning from office. Tell me a little bit more about the precedent for what Joe is doing, the announcement Joe made yesterday.
Yeah, so I think of three different scenarios that I've heard comparisons to. The first being Harry Truman. Now, Harry Truman, when he was running for potentially re-election, obviously he came in the middle of FDR's term. He then could serve. He technically didn't meet the qualifications, but he was grandfathered in, so he could run for another full term. When it came down to it, he was going, maybe, maybe not. He was kind of in the middle. He said, you know what, just put my name on New Hampshire to see what happens. And he didn't do very good. After that, he said, all right, I'm dropping out of the race. I'm going to continue my presidency. But he cited, I'm dropping out because clearly the support isn't there. There's support for someone else. So he very clearly said, I'm okay, just not being supported. Then we go to LBJ. Again, becomes president because John F. Kennedy's assassinated. He's able to run. He fulfills one term. He's able to go for a second term. And again, he puts his name on one primary and comes in second, or he comes in first. Sorry, he won the first one, but it was like 59 to 50 or like 49 to 42 or something like that. It was pretty close. Then Bobby Kennedy jumps in. And the minute Bobby Kennedy jumps in, they go to Wisconsin, which was the second primary, and LBJ's in third place. Bobby Kennedy's annihilating. And that's when he comes out and says, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to seek re-election. I'm dropping out. But I'm going to continue my term as president. Again, not because I'm not okay, because I'm just not popular. And I see that. And we need to win. Then a bunch of stuff happens. Richard Nixon becomes elected. Richard Nixon wins his second term pretty much in a landslide. It's a landslide. He won by massive numbers. But, of course, he has the Watergate scandal, where basically, allegedly, he orchestrated a break-in to the Watergate Hotel in D.C., the DNC headquarters. He had it bugged. He had a bunch of insider info because of that. Whole scandal breaks out. This is where we get into a lot of things of like, can the president keep classified documents and recordings and what equals presidential immunity and all that. He resigns the presidency because he understood that he was more than likely going to be impeached and removed from office. He would have been the first to be removed from office. So he said instead,
would he have been the first or would he have been the second to be removed from office?
He'd been the first to be removed from office.
Gotcha.
We have never had a president actually be removed from office. The closest one was Johnson, who was saved by a single vote.
Gotcha.
And so he resigned on his own terms and left. That became, of course, a huge scandal because of Watergate. Gerald Ford came in, pardoned him, all that.
Which I would argue everybody still remembers Watergate, but if you look at like what Hillary Clinton did during, if you read the Durham report, wouldn't you say that would be, do you know, like obviously everything with the Durham report, how much they spied on the Trump campaign?
Yeah.
Like how is that much different? I know that's a deviation
It's not
from what we wanted to talk about.
It's not. And I would argue that what's happening now is a bigger scandal because what just happened was the entire DNC, the Democratic voters, 14 million of them showed up and voted for Joe Biden. And then the DNC said, we don't care, and threw their vote away. Now, I've actually talked to a couple of my more Democratic friends who've been willing to share with me, and I said, how do you feel about this? And most of them are actually pretty okay with it because they said, well, I was voting for the administration, not just for the man, but for the administration. Fair. I understand what you're saying. But I know me as an American looked at this and went, so primaries don't matter. How am I going to instill in my students that primaries are an important thing when they could just change in the final hour, change the candidate and say, your vote didn't matter?
Well, exactly. I mean, if Joe Biden has been saying for quite a while that he's just fine. The mainstream media has been saying Joe Biden's just fine. Everybody's been saying Joe Biden's just fine. In fact, while they've been saying Joe Biden's just fine, they've been saying Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. MAGA Republicans are a threat to democracy. Everyone else is a threat to democracy. Democracy being the ideology that we vote for the representatives we have. And of course, it's more nuanced than that. You can go deeper, but at a very basic level, you vote for the representatives that you have. You had, like you said, 14 to 15 million Americans who went out and voted and said, I want Joe Biden. And in fact, I even remember, and you can correct me exactly where this was, but I think it was one of our American territories. It wasn't a state, but one of our American territories for a while leading in their primary was like no candidate or no vote or something like that. Do you remember about that?
The American Samoa, a different person won. I think it was Jason something, I think his name was.
Maybe. But I remember that Joe Biden wasn't. So the point being is that people had other options. You weren't forced to vote for Joe Biden for the Democrat nomination, but so many people did. And you could claim you were lied to by the mainstream media, but I can't just get behind that either, because people like you and I, Josh, knew Joe Biden was not mentally competent. We knew he wouldn't be. We knew not only was he not going to be a good candidate, we also knew there was speculation as to whether or not he could get through the election. In fact, you go back to streams a year ago, both you and I agreed the idea that Joe Biden probably, or at times we would go back and forth about what level of confidence we had he would be the candidate, but almost always we gave the stipulation if he's even the candidate. We didn't know. We didn't necessarily think he would be. And I do see the comment down here, we're a constitutional republic with a representative democracy. I agree with that. That's true. But we need to talk about the idea of democracy, because Democrats are the party in which they constantly claim we're a democracy and Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And now they are undermining the fundamental idea of what democracy is. And if that doesn't infuriate you, just like you said, you might have Democrat friends who are like, well, I was voting for the administration and so I was, okay, sure, vote for the administration. But what does it say about you as a voter if you decided to vote for the man that you knew, or at least somewhat knew, might not even make it that long?
Right.
Where's your humanity as an individual? Let's take party and ideology and everything out of it. You'd vote for somebody who you know probably shouldn't be there for their own health.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, and we saw this weeks ago, people saying, I'd rather vote for a dead man than Donald Trump. And it's like, do you not see the inhumanity here? I mean, the man is not well. I've never once wished, I know I'm wearing my Let's Go Brandon shirt, but I've never once wished ill will on Joe Biden. You know, it was sad watching him on that stage. It was very sad. It's been sad these last couple of weeks watching him slowly mentally fall apart. It's incredibly sad. There's a lot of speculation about him right now with COVID. You know what? I hope he's doing okay. I don't want him to pass. I don't want him to go. I hope he's not dead. I hope he's doing okay. I hope he is recovering. I hope he is doing well. I hope he comes out in 4 days goes, I'm better than ever. Awesome. I hope he is, I don't want that to happen. But yeah, I mean, and the fact that people even said, well, they had to get behind, well, I'm voting for the administration. So you're not voting for the man. Isn't that saying something? I mean, even in 2020, it was settle for Joe. Settle for Joe. Vote blue no matter what. No one has ever been excited about this guy. And now I think that the writing was on the wall that people aren't excited, but also he isn't doing good. We need to get him out of here before. I sadly don't think after the election or after next January when Trump's inaugurated, I don't think Biden's going to make it much longer. I think he's slowly declining.
Well, and that's even one thing I've been thinking about. So people are having a lot of fun speculating as to who will replace Joe. And while I stated before that it's quite clearly should and kind of has to be Kamala for a multitude of reasons, there is an argument that, maybe it's Michelle Obama. Maybe Hillary's going to come in. I thought it would be fun. Why not just put Jimmy Carter up there? Jimmy Carter.
I think Jimmy Carter.
He only served one term.
He has the opportunity to do the funniest thing in the world right now. He really does.
Yep. Man's literally in hospice, but I think that I honestly...
He's been in hospice for a year.
Yeah, I mean, like... I mean... How much different... Let's be honest, though. How much different is hospice versus what the White House is right now? Because that basically is what Joe Biden's in. I mean, his mental decline, I just keep seeing it. It's a man in a monkey suit. That Jill keeps dressing up. And so that's what the next thing I actually kind of wanted to bring up, Josh, is I think you were there. Did you see the signatures?
I did, yeah.
And the letter.
I saw that, yeah.
Do you think that Joe Biden wrote and or signed that letter?
No, I mean, I think what he did was he said, look, I'm dropping out and done. And then he said, just put a letter out. And some intern went and typed up a letter, and they tried to get the signature as close as possible, potentially, took a screenshot of it, and who knows? No, I don't think he wrote it and signed it. I mean, he just said, do it, I'm going to bed. Yeah. And then they let them take care of it. And I think maybe, I know a lot of the aides didn't know about it until like he posted on X. At least one intern had to know to write it. Maybe even Kamala Harris. Maybe even said, Kamala, you take care of it. I think there's a very real, like, or even Jill or Hunter or so, so, hey, just, can you write this for me? I can't do it. I don't think he wrote it and signed it, but I also don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world, because I don't think a lot of those letters or proclamations put out by the president are written and signed by them. It's an intern,
Well, you're right, but with you already gave testament to the unprecedented nature of this entire announcement. Don't you think that that due to that unprecedented level, and also the speculation as to whether or not Joe wants to do this? I mean, just 4 days ago, I played a clip of I played it today, but 4 days ago, there was a Biden campaign staffer that said he will be the nominee. He will beat Donald Trump. He will. Very, very in the affirmative. I mean, even I believe in Nevada, when he was getting COVID, he was telling people, I'm going to be the nominee. His last serious public appearances, he has said, in which he was present and he was physically seeable, like people visually seeable. He had said he was going to be the nominee. Don't you think it's weird? Don't you think that these questions could be assumed?
I think the questions could be assumed, but I also don't think. I mean, I think I don't think it's that weird. And I'm going to put it to a different situation here, which was that obviously I was a supporter of Ron DeSantis, and up until the minute he dropped, he said, "I'm staying in this race." Up until he made the announcement, he kept saying, "I'm staying in. I'm staying in. I'm staying in." He could have made that decision days before that he wasn't, but he was trying to say, "No, I'm going to stay in." Maybe he was weighing it. Maybe Biden's been weighing it, and and he finally hit the moment of, you know what, you're right. I probably should drop. But up until then, he was saying, no, I'm going to stay in, because he truly felt he was. Who knows what called to him or what convinced him to finally make that decision? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, though.
Why do you think this would be a statement written, copied, and put on X rather than any type of an in-person or video or television appearance, anything? Like, why do you think that this was made only via that statement? And also, he says in there very vaguely, I'll be addressing the nation later this week.
Yeah.
He never says in there this has anything to do with health concerns. In fact, I believe people that are official people are stating that it has nothing to do with health concerns. However, Joe's brother has come out and claimed that it has to do with health concerns. And then everybody surrounding Joe in the immediate, like Jill and others, have put out things that say, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that. Frank's brother, or Frank, or whatever, James, whatever the brother's name. They're all like slandering him across the media for saying that it has anything to do with health concerns. Why do you think that is? Why no public appearance?
I mean, I think that shows the abruptness of this is that no one knew he was going to do it. And so he just put it out, and he had no plan. He had no plan of what he was going to do. He just knew he just knew he had to be out. And so that his thing was, I'm going to just drop, I'll just put it out there. I'll deal with it later. I'll draft a statement. He is obviously sick, so maybe his voice is gone or something too. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till I feel a little better. I'm gonna get back out there later on, be doing fine. I'm just to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he is just not feeling that great, and his voice is gone. He's like, you know what? I can't talk right now. Let's just put this out, deal with it in a couple days. Whether I do it now or in a couple days, I will address people. I just gotta get this out though before I start getting more money and things like that. And we got to get this ball rolling on Kamala.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, I appreciate the historical perspective. I appreciate your opinions. Do you have any other thoughts to share regarding this whole instance? Any ideas, any predictions you'd like to make publicly, and we can see if they come true?
I mean, I do think Kamala is going to assure up the nomination. I think she, in Daily Wire reported earlier, she already has half the delegates kind of tied to her. I think the only challenge I really saw was maybe Joe Manchin, which could be interesting, but I do think she's going to get the nomination. I think she's going to secure it. I think she's going to try to pick a white guy for her VP. And I think that might be where she goes. But I don't think it's anyone they're actually talking about for a litany of different reasons. I don't know who, but I think there will be someone different that maybe hasn't been discussed. Gotcha. Well, Josh, thank you so much for joining, and we're going to get a little bit more into this Joe Biden talk and Kamala talk and other stuff. But thank you so much for joining. Yeah, of course, man. Awesome. Bye-bye.
Well, everybody, that was Josh Bender. Of course, you know him as the history teacher out of Nevada, my good friend, and definitely an interesting perspective on understanding exactly kind of how crazy this time is that we're going through. It really is an absolutely unprecedented time. And while we talked about everything that has happened in the last month, how we've touched on the idea of Kamala, and we're going to get more into her. We've touched on Joe Biden stepping down and the historical significance. And I see your guys' comments coming through, and I appreciate that. Keep those coming. I really do appreciate them. I am seeing them. Why not put Ronald Reagan in the running? He is dead now, but he'd be doing just as good, probably better than Biden right now. And we all know that Democrats have no issues voting for somebody who's on their deathbed or using dead people to vote for those people. And so, yeah, so who knows? Anything could really happen. Reality is stranger than fiction. Please post contact info for Josh. Next time he's on, ask that same question. He is a private citizen who is just a good buddy of mine that comes on. And so I'm not necessarily going to post. He doesn't have a professional podcast or anything like that. I will text him and ask him for contact. I'll text him right now. So I put that in. I just texted him so he can let me know if there's anything that he's willing to share publicly, but I'm not necessarily going to do that against him. But I do still want the one question that we weren't really able to ask with Josh is he asked and I kind of asked him and he had maybe some predictions, but where is Joe Biden? Where is Joe Biden? His schedule was, in fact, even wiped clean after ending his campaign via the letter. This is out of the Daily Wire yesterday, who has been very, very on top of this entire thing. Where's Joe? President's schedule wiped clean. Seriously, his schedule was wiped clean after ending his campaign via a letter. President Joe Biden has no public event scheduled for Monday, one day after announcing that he would be ending his reelection campaign through a letter posted on social media. His reelection campaign, he said he would be ending his reelection campaign through a letter posted on social media. Biden's schedule for the rest of the week only sends additional details to the president's schedule forthcoming. The schedule, which was released on Sunday night, was resulted in questions with speculation on social media surrounding Biden, who has not been seen or heard from publicly since he was diagnosed with COVID. In fact, he was even supposed to have a meeting with Netanyahu, I believe, from Israel, and Netanyahu is waiting. And it's not necessarily been postponed. It's been up in limbo. Nobody knows. So you have Israel, who is the people that we're trying to be told that we need to support. We need to support them. We need to support them. Biden has been in the crosshairs of his own party, who's trying to have him go and support Palestine. They're having all these issues now, and apparently we're going to just leave that guy in limbo. This is insane. We're leaving world leaders in limbo. This is unacceptable for the American people. I don't care what party you're in. This is unacceptable for the American people. We were told that the reason he was stepping down is so that he could be assuming his presidential duties as assigned. And he's blowing off world leaders now? I don't believe he was even doing his presidential duties prior to, but still, this is insane. And so we have to look, what are the signs of life? We're looking for proof of life. The president may be either dying or dead, and we do not know. We're being spread propaganda. Seriously, we are being spread propaganda. Here are the most recent signs of life we have from the president. We have a video of him exiting an airplane on his way back when I believe he had COVID. This is him, I believe, exiting the airplane, Air Force One, when he was on his way back after being diagnosed with COVID just late last week. He successfully, slowly walks down the stairs. Last time he was seen this technically I don't believe is in public, but the closest thing to being in public. This is the video we have. And then, other than that, we also have the right here, the physicians of the president, President Biden, completed his 10th dose of Paxlovid this morning. This is dated the 22nd of July, 2024. His symptoms have almost resolved completely. His pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and temperature remain absolutely normal. His oxygen saturation continues to be excellent on room air. His lungs remain clear. The president continues to perform all of his presidential duties. How? How is he performing all of his presidential duties? His schedule has been wiped clear, and there's been no specifics as to what he's actually doing. I will continue to keep your office updated with any changes to his conditions or treatment plan. So he's been doing his presidential duties, but he doesn't have any presidential duties anymore. They've all been cleared. What are his presidential duties that he's so busy taking care of that he can't even talk to the American people about one of the most historic announcements that he has ever made? And while Democrats have continuously been praising him in the media now for stepping down, besides Obama, I mean, Obama praised him, but has been asking for him to step down. Republicans have been calling for Biden to step down because of this kind of thing. Republicans push for Biden to resign from office immediately. And this is a true question. This is a true question. Republicans push Biden, and this is a deviation. I'm going to get to the call in a moment, our second sign of life. But I want to point out that Republicans have been pushing for Biden to resign from office immediately. And the question that's really been coming up is this idea that, oh, okay, so Biden says that he can't, or that he's not going to run for office anymore. He doesn't really give the reason that it's due to health, but everybody kind of knows that it's due to health, and because everybody is telling him to step down. He hasn't shown his face, so it's clear he's not in good health. He had COVID. He's not in good health. His physician claims that he might be, but we haven't seen him, so we don't know. And so people are saying, you should step down because it seems like you can't handle the responsibilities put in front of you right now. And while that's not totally wrong, there are two things to think about. There's the first of the short-term good and bad for the country. In the short term, it would be very, very good for Biden to step down. Well, no. In the short term, it would, for the country, it would be better for Biden to step down because while Kamala is terrible, at least we would have a figurehead that's not dead or missing in action. That's the only positive of having Kamala go into office and assume it. But then we consider the bad politically. If Kamala, who is the presumptive nominee essentially now for the Democrats, up in the air but presumptive, becomes the president now, this would be the most historic thing about all of this. And this is another question. Why wasn't the 25th clause used? Beats me. We don't know what's going on. And so we don't know if it would have been precedent to do that because this is all unprecedented. But if Kamala were to become the president of the United States, which is seeming more and more possible every single day, then I wonder, her being claimed as the first female president, and it'll also be like first female president, also first female Black Indian president, maybe gay, I don't know. I mean, she technically has a husband, but whatever. She'd have all those titles to her. She would also be the first president, I believe. I know that she's the first presidential candidate. She will be the first presidential candidate of a major party that has never received a single delegate. And I think that's worth noting. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we talk more about Kamala, which will come up soon. But I want to finish off with Biden. It's just that this is all intertwined, and so I can only handle so much. So I started off with this show. Let me get the phone call pulled up because we're going to talk about that next. But I started off with this show laying out how much has happened just in the last month. And then I also think about how much has happened just in like the last 48 hours. This show was not easy to come up with, and I felt like it was all over the place, and you might feel like this show is all over the place, but that's because that's how the news has been. There has been so much of it, and everybody only knows like half of the story because we are living through a time right now with the single least transparent government in American history. Ironically, this is the time in which the flow of information is easier than ever, and the information is not flowing. The questions are, but the answers are getting stopped behind a locked door. And so that's what we have right now. One attempt at showing the world that he's actually alive somehow was this phone call from President Biden. Let's take a look and listen to this. This was at Kamala Harris was having her campaign announcement that she was announcing her official campaign for president. Biden HQ has now been totally changed into Harris HQ. And this was a phone call, apparently claimed to be from Joe Biden. I'll let you guys tell me what you think. In which they claim that Joe Biden called in to give his unending support. There's a lot within this, packed within this, but let's take a look and listen to this full phone call. We're going to listen to all of it. That's apparently Joe Biden talking at this campaign event right here.
This is a Fox News alert. President Biden called into Kamala Harris in Wilmington, Delaware. Let's listen.
Okay, so much more we're going to get done. And so I want to say hello to Kamala if she can hear me. I know she's going to be speaking shortly. And I want to say to the team, embrace her. She's the best. I want to call today to thank everybody in this effort. I know yesterday's news was surprising and it's hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing, help me get this nomination, help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency. But you know, you're an amazing team. But we've got a great. I think we made the right decision. I know how hard you've worked, how many sacrifices you made, and so many of you uprooted your lives for me, and the kind of commitment few people make for anything these days, but you made it. And I've been honored and humbled. I mean, this is from the bottom of my heart. My word is a Biden, that for all you've done for me and my family. And we built the best campaign in organization in history. I've been doing this. I always kid and say, I know I'm only 40, but I've been around a long time. I don't know of a better campaign organization, grassroots campaign. You know, we have over 230 offices opened. We have over 2,000 paid staff. And we have literally several thousand volunteers on a regular basis, thousands of them. And they've been relentless and tireless in reaching out and contacting voters. The leadership of this campaign has been amazing. Jen O'Malley Dillon, Julie Quinn, Michael Tyler, Rob Flaherty, Rufus on raising money, and so many more. You built this team, you brought them together, you brought us together, you've inspired them, and you've done what leaders do. Now we got to, you know, the name has changed at the top of the ticket. But the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell, both as a sitting president, getting legislation passed, as well as in campaigning. You know, what we still need to save this democracy. And Trump is still a danger to the community, he's a danger to the nation. And just ask my foreign policy colleagues, my counterparts, and other people around the world and at home. Look, so I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala. And I want you to know, I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged. I've got 6 months left in my presidency. I'm determined to get as much done as I possibly can, both foreign policy and domestic policy. Keep lowering costs for families, continue to speak out on guns and child care, elder care, prescription drugs, and climate. Climate still is the existential threat that we face, and if we don't win this thing, it's all in jeopardy. And we got to keep working for an end to the war in Gaza. I'll be working very closely with the Israelis and with the Palestinians to try to work out how we can get the Gaza war to end and Middle East peace and get all those hostages home. I think we're on a verge of being able to do that. And we got to keep our alliances together. It's critically important. It took a while for me to build these alliances. Most of these my colleagues have acknowledged that, but it's critically important for our safety and security. And I know I'll be doing whatever Kamala wants me or needs me to do in addition. So let me be real clear. We're still fighting in this fight together. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to know you've always had my back, and I promise you, I will always have your back. And I'm anxious for you all to hear from Kamala. So thank you, Julie. You're the best.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'm sticking around. I'm going to listen.
All right. right. Thank you so much, Mr. President, again, for taking time to join our call today. And, as the president said, we are full steam ahead in supporting the vice president, and we are seeing incredible enthusiasm already from our supporters.
Okay, so as I noted on the screen right there, do you believe this is actually Joe Biden?
To win the
Now, I think there is reason to call into question the legitimacy of this call. It seems too convenient to believe the face value interpretation. Now, many claimed that this could be AI immediately on Twitter when this first came out just a little over an hour ago. As my good friend Josh Bender is now in the comments section noted, it's Joe. AI wouldn't stumble and stutter that much. I don't necessarily disagree. That it would seem less likely to be AI. What I will say is technology seems to do wondrous things, as Demon Girl said, and anything is possible. I think it's incredibly convenient that the first quote unquote public appearance of Joe Biden after he makes his historically unprecedented announcement happens to be a phone call, something in which it's only audio, for which, if he is alive, which I have to say, I hope he is, I hope nothing bad is happening. I hope he's not even on his deathbed or anything like that. But even if he is alive, this could have been recorded, put in snippets. Parts of it could be AI. They've used AI. In fact, I believe there was George Strait, and this is totally out of whack, but it just is a good example. George Strait, who has had serious issues with his voice, but has still been songwriting, famous country artist from the 90s, recently released a new song with use of AI to recreate parts of his voice because he has struggled so much with his voice. So there is a lot of things you can do with technology, and it seems wildly convenient. Once again, the Biden administration is doing this to themselves. Biden's campaign, Harris, in fact, being a part of it, is doing this to themselves. We could have had none of these questions, a lot of these questions that I've spent the last hour talking about regarding Biden, whether or not Biden is even, where is Joe Biden? This entire stream basically wouldn't have to happen if Joe Biden came out. Oh, Randy Travis. I'm sorry. It was not George Strait. It was Randy Travis. Thank you, Raven. I misspoke. None of this conversation would have had to happen if not for an odd letter with questions. If he had just come on TV and done a Biden and like still totally had many flubs and just like been incoherent and everything, but got at least out, I'm not running for president. I'm done. Cancel the campaign. Cancel. You know, the thing. And the true national depression. If he had just come out and said that, then we wouldn't have to be worrying and asking these questions and contemplating the transparency of our government right now. Am I crazy for saying all that, for questioning it? Like, this is patently absurd. We need to be 100% considering the idea that Joe Biden might be incapacitated right now, and we have no idea as an American people. That is a very real possibility. It is. What do you guys think? Was that actually Joe Biden? Was it not? Was it AI? Was it a pre-recording? Your guess is as good as mine right now. And while you're guessing, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for the comment there, Unconventional. That's amazing. Up next, we're going to talk about how Kamala Harris is now taking over the campaign. We're going to talk about what that means for the election. We're going to discuss some recent polling. And then we're also going to discuss just a little bit more about how the media is playing with our emotions right now. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris's chances, Trump going against her, what her media narrative is, some predictions for the campaign, all that fun stuff. We will be back soon, right after this message from Freedom 2.0. Of course, you guys know I love Freedom 2.0. Here is that. So, as many of you know, I discussed it earlier in the show, and we're going to talk just to be clear as to who the nominee is going to be now that Biden is apparently out. Of course, there's still the question: does he really know that he's out? Did he write that letter? Did he actually sign it? What the hell is going on? But let's act under the assumption, which is just a stupid assumption, but we have to act under it because it's the only one that we have, that we are being told the truth in things, or at least enough of the truth. And so many people were talking quickly after Biden excused himself from the race about the possible replacements. We see here on screen, this is what everybody was sharing from Fox News: VP Harris, Governor Whitmer, Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, Paulus, Newsom, Warnock, Obama, Klobuchar, Bashar. There was also J.B. Pritzker, who has already thrown his support behind Kamala, and others. It's going to be like 99.9% chance it'll be Harris for a few reasons. First off, I do not know all of campaign finance law. I will tell you it's deep, murky, and gets a lot of people in a lot of trouble. Not my thing. But what I do know, the bare level that I do know, is that it would make things incredibly murky to take somebody to have all the money that Biden has already raised for his campaign and try to give it to somebody who was not even on that ticket. I know that it would open them up to a lot of liability, and they're already going to be in a lot of liability because of all this. That's the first thing. The second thing is would go against the argument that Josh was talking about, that I've been talking about, that many of the comments have been talking about. A lot of people have been discussing the idea that Democrats are currently subverting democracy. They're the true threat to democracy, which is still a valid argument. The idea that 15 million people went out and voted for their primary candidate, whether they liked it or not, they voted for Joe Biden to be their candidate. It is a subversion of democracy to deny them the candidate that is claimed he's perfectly fine, he's going to be there. It is a subversion of democracy to deny them that. The man is still alive. The man has said he could run for office. He should. But it would be even worse if they took somebody who was not on that ticket, when Kamala Harris is, I will even say, in charge of all of her faculties. As little as her brain power may be, it's there, more than Joe's, and she can run. That will be the nominee. Like, I am like 99.9% sure that will be the nominee. And the thing is right now, she's not favorable. That's why I think Democrats were having a hard time with polling Joe, because Joe is moderate. I don't want to say she's favorable, but Joe could sell a moderate position. Joe had won elections, and Joe had actually been of some level of interest. Kamala Harris, if you look at current polling, is losing by a decent amount. I want to try to find the polls that I had up earlier today. I didn't have them prepared necessarily because this wasn't the first thing I was going to talk about, and they dropped pretty recently. But Trump beats Kamala in a lot of the most recent polling. Yeah, it can be a little bit closer. But sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I find this Kamala Harris polling Trump. Let me make sure I find it correctly. Media. And I can show you guys. Kamala Harris has basically as good of a chance of beating Trump as Joe Biden, if not even worse. Her polling is low, and people do not see her favorably. In fact, as I said earlier, she will be the first major party nominee that has never once earned any delegate on her own. In fact, even in 2020, when she ran for the presidential primary, she dropped out before Iowa because her poll numbers were so bad. Kamala Harris is not favorable. People do not like her. She is Hillary Clinton 2.0. She's unlikable. And not only unlikable, her record for which she's trying to run on is absolutely terrible. Not to mention she has that shrill laugh. And so right now on X, Make America Great Again, or I'm sorry, Make America Laugh Again, has been what people are trying to make poll, and they're like, oh man, like she's got such a great laugh. She's got such a great laugh. In fact, you guys know the Lincoln Project. So the Lincoln Project, which is an organization, they claim to be former Republicans, and they were established, like they were Rhino Republicans. They were the ones that were like still shilling for Jeb Bush in 2016. Yeah, so they came out with this ad earlier today, actually. Yeah, today, for Kamala. Take a look at this.
I hate when people laugh at me. I hate it.
Hubby. Poor hubby.
Not- I hate when people laugh.
Yeah, I had to watch it, so you did too. The god-awful Kamala cackle. Yeah, they actually brought that up. The Lincoln Project willingly put that out there as if it was somehow something that would win people over. Gosh, no. Gosh, no. Nobody likes Kamala's laugh at a minimum. It is unlikable. It is annoying. And she does it at the worst times. She's literally asked serious questions, and all of a sudden she's laughing. It's insane. Not to mention the fact that we also consider this narrative. Okay, so there are going to be a few things that are going to come out. Actually, we'll start with this. She's going to start coming out and saying things regarding she's going to come out and she's going to say, I'm a prosecutor that's prosecuted. Actually, I could probably find this clip. I guarantee you she brought it up during this, and we're going to do this live right here. I didn't have time to watch her full speech. Actually, I think her speech was still going on when I was doing this, when I started this live stream. This is her earlier today while I was doing this live stream, giving her speech. In fact, maybe I can just find her full speech. Kamala. We'll just watch that right here. We'll watch her speech from tonight when she discusses her candidacy. We'll watch it. We'll bring it up here. Let's see if it's already up anywhere. Go to Kamala Harris. Let's see if we have any video anywhere of this. We'll go to Harris HQ. I'll even bring up my searches on screen so you guys can see what I'm looking for. Because I'll see if I can find the full speech here. It looks like they have a lot of clips of it up. Let's see if they have the full speech anywhere. Because that's what I want to watch. Let's see what they're putting out. We'll watch these clips from it right here. It looks like my audio has been lost, so I'm going to represent. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share with your friends. But let's take a look at some of the clip highlights that Biden HQ, or Harris HQ, has decided to share as she announces her candidacy. Here's this.
You know, as many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. Before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
You want to know what else she did during this time? Is she actually prosecuted a significant amount of small level nonviolent offenders, including a lot of African Americans. And while I believe on a tough on crime policy, she's the kind of person that also claimed we should defund the police due to systemic racism. However, she's the person, if there's anybody who practices her own level of systemic racism, she did it more than anybody I know.
Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers,
You did the same thing to Willie Brown. That's how you got to where you are.
cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his. As a young prosecutor, when I was in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office in California, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Donald Trump was found liable by a jury for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges and put it out of business. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college, Trump University, that was forced to pay $25 million to the students it scammed. As district attorney, to go after polluters, I created one of the first environmental justice units in our nation.
That's not something to brag about. I don't know who told her that's something to brag about. That no one, like, you realize, I want to know the polling on environmental justice. How many Americans can actually define it? And how many Americans actually give a shit? Let's also take a look and a listen at this clip in which during this exact time, she may or may not have spilled the beans. And I will give credit to Unconventional on this one for saying that the recording, I found it, the clip right here. Let's take a look and listen.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice.
Wait, listen.
Joe, I know you're still on the
was she recording
call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do, everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh, it is so
that. No way. Like, there's no way. There's no way that's real. I'm convinced even more now. Like, that is, have you guys ever seen? Look, I know there's a lot of controversy about Disney, but I've been to Disney World and everything. It was like 10 years ago, but they had this, even 10 years ago, they had this thing at Disney World where it was Crush the Turtle that was able to interact with audience members. And it was really, I think it was like a man behind a curtain, and he was like, and they would have a camera, and they would use some technology to be able to come up with really good, comedy lines and things to talk with the audience real time. That's basically what I think happened here. That's what I think, that they had a recording, and I think that probably some use of AI technology, and that's how it happened. Because once again, watch this. Listen to even the Joe.
so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it.
And listen to him.
It's mutual.
Watch her when she hears it talk again. Watch from the moment, and I know this might be going too in depth, but I think it's really important. Watch her body language, watch her facial expression from the moment that she almost spills the beans on recording, and then once she hears the recorded voice again. Listen.
Joe, I know you're still on the call,
And we've
Watch.
been talking every day.
Now she's trying to
Probably
dig
you guys
herself
heard
out of
it
the
from
hole.
Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do. Everybody here does.
It's mutual.
Look at how her face brightens up. So she's like so nervous, forcing a smile. And then once this split second that she hears the voice, watch how her face brightens up. Watch. Forcing.
It's mutual.
Real smile right there.
I
because
knew
she's
you were
like,
still
"Oh my
there.
God,
You're
thank
not
God."
going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid.
You're digging me out. You're digging me out of the hole I just created myself. Thank you. 22-year-old intern behind the curtain that just typed in the words into the AI modular. Like, I cannot confirm that is the absolute truth, that's exactly what's happening. But based on my analysis, based on what I can see, my own eyes, as an independent individual, that's what I would see. And if I'm thinking it, I guarantee you there's other people out there. Let me know in the comments. Is that what am I right? Or like, would that be what you believe too? Because that's how I see it. That's got to be it. Like it would take a lot for me to be convinced otherwise. It would take a lot for me to be convinced otherwise. That's what I'd say. It's Oz. It's Oz. It's Disney AI Joe. It's got to be that. Like that's where my mind's at right now. Allegedly. For legal reasons, I'll say allegedly. But that is what's going on. That's Kamala's HQ address today. Those are the announcements that she's going to make. Her entire campaign is going to be based off of this lie that she is a prosecutor and Donald Trump is a criminal. And so I'm here to prosecute the criminal. I'm going to prosecute Donald Trump. That's what they're going to say. That's going to be the message that's pushed and pushed and pushed. And they're going to ignore the sex scandal living that Kamala Harris is. They're going to try to ignore it, but they're not going to be able to. The Trump camp and everybody, the meme army, of which I'm included, that backs conservative Republicans and Donald Trump, they're going to come out and they're going to come out swinging, attacking Kamala, her record, and her history, unlike she has ever had before. There is a reason that she had to back out before she ran in before Iowa in 2020. And it's because she was a bad candidate. She's a bad candidate. In fact, Donald Trump's campaign even already kind of knew that this was going to happen, because just hours after Joe Biden stepped down and it seemed like Kamala was going to become the nominee, they released this clip.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant, and I have no doubt about the strength of the work that we have done.
But Kamala knew Joe couldn't do the job, so she did it. Look what she got done. A border invasion, runaway inflation, the American dream dead. They created this mess. Kamala owns this failed record. Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising. Kamala.
And that's just the beginning. Because she's going to try to pivot. She's going to try to pivot, and it's going to be Trump is such a problem. I'm going to prosecute Trump. He's a sexual abuser. He's all these things. He said, grab him by the, you know what I mean? All of that. And we got to remind the American people, Kamala Harris is complicit in the propping up of Joe Biden as if he's essentially Bernie. It's weekend at Biden's, everybody. She's been complicit in all this. Joe's fine. And as we develop the campaign, not only for Trump, but against Kamala in these upcoming months, I will constantly bring up her old clips, the news, her record, and I will educate you as I'm being educated. We're going to do this together. And to make sure you don't miss a minute of it, I really have to tell you guys to subscribe and keep updated, because you'll hear some of it. You'll hear clips and stuff from the mainstream media, but they won't cover it like this. You're not going to have the mainstream media come out and tell you that it seems likely that this phone call was AI. Nobody's going to be sitting there making you feel heard. Those DC elites, those fat cats in their fancy studios, I'm telling you right now, this is a green screen behind me. This is a green screen. Turn this light off. You can probably see this is a green screen, and I have a green screen just so that it can look a little bit more professional. I think I can actually, here's what I'll do. You want to know who I am? Nothing, right there. I have a green screen behind me. This is a green screen. I put that back there so that it looks a little bit more visually appealing to drag people in. I am not a big studio, a massively funded, a very wealthy. No, I am a man in debt because I'm going to law school. So I can do everything I can to fight against these lying machines that we have, our lamestream media, and those that will not give it to you and make you feel heard as an American citizen. We have an entire class of people, and it's not Democrat or Republican or even liberal versus conservative. A true conservative is against this machine. But there are claims of people that claim to be conservative that are a part of this uniparty that actively seeks to distort your view on the country, distort your view, make you feel alone and isolated. And if you follow me, if you participate, and not just follow, I don't want to say that we're following. We can all be leaders in this movement. If you follow and participate, like many of the people that I have right here, then you're not alone. They will try to make you feel speechless coming up to November. Pun is absolutely intended, but it's necessary. They will try to make you feel as if your voice will not be heard. They will try to make you feel as though you are alone, as though you're the only one that is thinking this way, that you're the only one that questions whether or not Biden is there, as if you're the only one. You're crazy. You're crazy. They will gaslight you into oblivion as if they are that frat boy from Sigma Pi when you were 20 years old that told you you were the love of his life. They will gaslight you. They will gaslight, lie, manipulate for their own benefit, to keep their party in control, because it is not about you, it is about them. But if you stick with me, we will grow and we will become the movement. We will join with others that are fighting comparably. That's why I'm with Breakaway USA, because we will constantly go further and expose the crap that is going on. See the light with me. Be a part of something. And it doesn't take anything more right now than just engaging. I won't beg you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, hit it to all, comment, and share. I usually speed through those kinds of things pretty quickly. Why? Because it's not about gaining clout. It's about getting this message out there, because for too long in my life, and my life hasn't been that long comparatively, I'm 23 years old. For too long in my life, myself and people that I've met at different political events, people that have been very close to me, very significant in my life, have told me they felt disenfranchised, have told me they felt unheard. I live and I have family that lived in Adam Kinzinger's district. I have people that felt as though the people that they had voted for, that they had been convinced to vote for, abandoned them. And so in my short life, I have seen how little our government does for us and how much they do for themselves. And so it is my life goal to change that even an ounce. And if you want to be a part of something, be a part of this. Because as Jordan Belfort said when he was trying to be forced out of Stratton Oakmont, pardon my French, but to quote him, I ain't fucking leaving. I ain't fucking leaving. I will happily be gulag inmate number 1 in a war-torn, sad, destitute, communist country before I give up my values, my thoughts, my words, my freedom. So come and take it. Come and get me. And let's start by praying and getting out the vote for Donald Trump this election. That's my little rant on that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I am getting spicy. I have to. Look, I'm not going to say that America's not going to exist if Kamala gets elected, anything like that. But because I think it will. I think that America is stronger, and I think our foundations can last even the dumbest person, even a brain-dead idiot being our president. I think it can outlast that. But I also want America to thrive and not just be gasping for air like a fish out of water. So that's why we need to bring back solid representation. And I'm going to criticize Trump here. I don't think that Trump is 100% aimless in this. I don't like that it seems like the RNC has abandoned pro-life issues, has abandoned the fight for traditional marriage. I don't like that. But Trump 2024 is on a better, much, much better direction, on a course correction from the current idiocy. I can't even call it a detour. But the turnaround that we've had, the regression we've had for the last 3.5, almost 4 years. So that's what I think. I think this is very important. This is exactly what I'm saying. We, the people, have to be involved. We, the people, have to do this together. Consider this my appeal to America. I'm just one voice. I'm just one voice. My voice and the things I say mean only as much as the value you place onto it. And so this is why I have to say, I have a lot of people, great people that are always in the comments, are always engaging, that are always that recognize what I'm trying to say. They want to take back this country. They want to be a part of this. And it's not just mine. Follow people like Jack Posobiec, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, Modern Renaissance Man, Ty Smith, great friend of mine. Follow those people. Follow the truth tellers. It's not just me. But make sure that if you're not the person that's going to set up the webcam with a shitty green screen and I don't want to call it shitty. It does its job. And a light on me so that I can look halfway decent. If you want to be one of those people, if you can't be one of those people, then share this with a friend. Part of it, your favorite clip. Go repost it on something. Comment as much as you can, like a lot of people. Because in the information age, in the age of which I'm able to be on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different platforms right now, and have a cumulative over 400 viewers on this video throughout the time that it's gone. If all of those people just reposted it, think about how many people would see this message. How many people we could get behind us. How many more people that could be exposed to a truth that they've never had before. That could be sitting in the sunlight when for so long they've been sitting in darkness. I like this. This is a great one. Absolutely. So, yeah. Check out Ryan Mack's show too. The Ryan Mack Show. Great one. But let's get out there and vote. And I know I've gone on multiple tangents. I've talked about multiple things. And I know that there's still so much more that I wasn't even able to cover when it comes to Kamala, when it comes to Joe. And I'm going to I would not be surprised if I do a live stream every night this week with how much news is out there. I know that there's nothing that I got. To when it comes to the Secret Service investigation today. And I'm going to get to that. I'm doing as best as I can. I'm only one man. That's why we got to check out other people. But tomorrow we'll have another live stream. I'll have more videos. And we'll talk more. So as always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, as I just went on a long rant telling you to do. Comment, share, ring that notification bell, hit it to all. I'm coming towards the end of this live stream. If you can't tell, I'm not totally happy with the state of this country right now. I'd been unhappy with where we were since the assassination attempt. I'm even more unhappy with the state of this country that Biden stepped down. I'm unhappy with it because we had been told for months. And no, I didn't believe it that he was totally competent. I didn't believe that he was just A-okay, as they would tell us. But I'm mad that we get told that and we get to what was yesterday. I was visiting some really important people to me over this weekend, and this news broke yesterday. When I got there last Thursday to where I was, and one of the people I was visiting, family to me, basically, he had asked me, he goes, so do you think Biden, one of the first things he said to me, he goes, do you think Biden's going to drop out? Do you think Biden's going to drop out? And I was like, I really don't know. I was like, I go back and forth every day. I feel like I go back and forth every single day with that question because he says he's not. More people are calling. Do you think it's going to happen? And in my head, I was just like, I just hope it doesn't happen this weekend. I just want just a brief time to let go. And then yesterday, they're not going to come on the show probably, but you could ask them if you know who I'm talking about. You could ask them. They'll tell you. Yesterday, when any news of this kind of came up, I was just kind of like, I'm not dealing with it. Because it made me so sad. This makes me so sad. When you step back and look, we get so laser focused on what is in front of us. We get so laser focused. Oh my God, he dropped out. Everybody said he was going to drop out. He said he wasn't going to drop out. Now we don't step back and look at how crazy this is. Matt Walsh posted to X the other, I think yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Matt Walsh posted to X yesterday, and he said well, no other presidential election is going to be as interesting as this one. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he could be jinxing it because we thought that after 2016, we kind of thought that after 20 with COVID. I said prior to this election, I said, they're going to throw everything at us. Everything about this election is going to be new. It's going to be different. They're going to throw everything at us. It's going to be crazy. And it's going to be unprecedented. I knew that. I said that. You can go look at I said Joe Biden might drop out. I predicted in some way. I won't say I definitively predicted it exactly as it happened, but I said a lot of this before it did. And so yesterday when everything came up, and when I said all of these predictions, I said, I hope this doesn't happen. I don't want this to happen. I don't want any of this to happen. And yet when it did, and I knew it could, and I'm not surprised. It just made me so sad. I'm angry. I mean, if you have been watching for the last hour and a half, I'm angry. But it also makes me so sad. So don't feel alone. You aren't. Other people agree with you. And if you want to go and take out any of your frustrations and let me know what you think about this situation, I know many of you do it in the comments section. If you have even more thoughts on this, send it to me, speechlesskp@gmail.com. Use my email inbox as your punching bag. Send me your thoughts, what you think, and I'll respond to them. If you want me to respond to it, if you would allow me to respond to it via video, I'll bring it up during a live stream. I'd prefer to do that because responding to a lot of emails via typing it out can take quite a while, but I will do that if you prefer that. email me, speechlesskp@gmail.com. Take out your frustrations. Let me know what you're thinking on all this. Even if you disagree with me on anything, I want you to know that you're not alone. And even if it's 100 different people, I will get to as many as I, as an individual, possibly can. Because if you're anything like me, you feel like in some ways your thoughts, your feelings, your sadness, your anger, your negativity on the current state of America might feel like I must be the only one feeling this way, because you see all these media talking heads and they're like, this is what's going to happen. Everybody's got an answer. Everybody's got an answer. And the truth of the matter is nobody fucking knows. Nobody knows. I don't care if it's Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow, or anyone in between. Everybody has an answer, but nobody knows. I don't know what's going to happen. There's one person who does, and it is Lord Almighty, God. The one that apparently came down and told Biden to drop out, because that was the only way he was going to. So he's the only one who knows. Pray to him. Email me. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. I'd appreciate it. Your voice truly does matter. Take it to the polls. Angry campers unite, because I was not a happy camper. So as I always say, and as I see in the comment section, many of you agreeing with a lot of this, I appreciate it. You guys, like I said, email me, speechlesskp@gmail.com. But as I say now, and I mean it as much, if not more, than ever, God bless you. God bless America. Truly. God bless this great United States of America. For he is the only one who knows what's in store for her. And thank you so much, truly, from the bottom of my heart, for watching and participating in Speechless.